Alright, welcome to Daniel Hattie's nightly tutorial videos. Thumbs up for this. But, we're going to show you the difference of series and parallel wiring tonight. I've got two subs here. Well, I've got four subs, but we're showing you two for now to show you the difference between series and parallel. So, I'm going to try to stay out of the video here. So we're going to do series wiring first. I'm out of the video, I think. I'm going to have to watch this just to make sure. I'm going to keep video and do the whole thing. So we're going to hook up one for our negative terminal. And these aren't actually stripped. These are just to show you. So there's our negative wire. That's going to go to our amp. This is series at the moment. I'm going to show you series wiring. These are two 4-ohm woofers. We're going to wire them in series to get 8 ohms. Here's our jumper wire. We go from negative is fed to the amp, right here. Positive, the remaining terminal, goes to the negative of the other sub. Whatever color wire you want to use, go ahead. And then we take one more wire, go to the positive terminal of the amp. These two go to the amp. This is our jumper wire between subs. We go negative of amp to negative of sub, positive of sub to negative of sub, and then the remaining positive goes to the amp. That's two 4-ohm woofers, and in series you add the resistance together. So this would be wired to 8 ohms right now. Now, we will rewire for parallel. Oh, actually I can leave that. Nope, I can't. Nope. That is not the same. I need another long wire. And a long wire. Okay, so we can use whatever color wires. We're going to use red for jumpers because that's what I have. I'm going to actually have to strip these, I think, to fit them in the terminals. But, so our negative, and this is if you have two woofers. Alright, I need this wire. We'll wire the negative terminal to the negative terminal of both woofers. And the positive terminal also to the positive terminal on both woofers. So we now have two wires going between the woofers. Just to cross them like this to try to show you them. The positives are connected together and the negatives are connected together. Now when you wire this to your amp, you can just go positive to negative and go that to your amp. But then that means that this sub now has this extra resistance that this sub doesn't have. So what you want to do is you want to tap your negative into one sub somehow. We'll cram that in there, make it stay. But that's connected to that negative terminal. And then we'll connect our positive terminal to the other sub. We're just going to stick that in there and pretend. So we now have a positive going to this terminal that feeds across this to feed this positive. Both now have positive. We have a negative terminal that feeds this negative that goes across this to feed this negative. Now, this positive wire is the same resistance as this negative wire. And since they come from opposite directions, they now share the same resistance. This is how we wire up two subs in parallel. Now when wiring in parallel, we have a 4-ohm and a 4-ohm. You can go with more subs. But when you're having two subs, it's 4 ohms divided by 2 equals 2 ohms. If I'd had 3 subs, it would have been 4 ohms divided by 3. 4 subs would have been 4 ohms divided by 4. However many subs you have, you take the ohms, the it's the same resistance. Sorry, obviously, but you take the ohms, resistance of each sub, and divide it by how many subs you wire in parallel. To go back and revert, this is going to be the end of this video. It's just series versus parallel. We just had the positives and negatives wired together. Now when we go back and go this way to series, instead of 2 ohms with 2 4-ohm subs, we are now back at 8 ohms here. Sub 4 ohms plus sub at 4 ohms. Series, you add the woofers together, add the resistances together. Like it's literally 4 plus 4 equals 8 in series. In parallel, sorry, they're not right. Let's flip them right quick. Positive to positive, negative to negative. It's resistance divided by number of subs in parallel. This case, 4 divided by 2 equals 2. And that'll be the end of this video, which I now have to watch to make sure I didn't get in the way of. This is resistance versus parallel.